4 years ago, I made a video about this bag right here, the Peak Design Everyday Messenger V1 15-inch. And I talked about how it held up to a year of daily driving abuse. And today, we're gonna look at how it's held up over the course of 5 years of daily driving. So let's get started. So in terms of the materials on this bag, I would say that overall things have held up pretty well. There's some minor scuffing here and there, but overall the bag is in pretty good shape, and it actually held its physical shape pretty well as well, even when it's empty like it is right now. In terms of the actual material, it does start to fuzz a little bit over the years, but that's because it's coated with wax from the factory, and that wears off over time. So I've applied some wax recently to this, and it doesn't look quite as nice as the factory wax, but it does a pretty good job of protecting the fabric and the contents of the bag. And in addition to that, it also helps to at least somewhat waterproof the bag. Now, in terms of the zippers themselves, actually all of them have held up really well. None of the zipper pulls have broken. And 4 years ago, we did talk about this zipper here on the laptop portion of the bag, which was just starting to it looked like it was gonna come undone pretty soon. Now, 4 years later, the zipper still pretty much looks the same, but I think the primary reason for that is because I've since switched from using a 15-inch MacBook Pro to an iPad Pro, which is much smaller and probably puts a lot less stress on this actual zipper. So I can't speak to how well this would have done over the last couple of years with that same laptop in there. I suspect it may have broken the zipper by now, but luckily on this bag, that's not the case yet. Now, there are a couple of signs of use here on the zipper pull. It's starting to fray a little bit right here, but it's still very functional. And if it ever does break, this would be something that, would be pretty easy to replace with something else. Now, on the side of the bag here where the straps are attached, there's also some similar looking wear on a similar looking material, and it is starting to just wear a little bit here, but it's not too bad yet. Obviously, the structural integrity is still there. It's mainly cosmetic. We'll have to see in another couple of years, but this definitely appears to be one of the weak spots of this bag because the rest of it is actually almost like new. And one thing that surprised me the most about this is actually the bottom of the bag. Typically, this is where you would see the most wear on a bag like this, especially if you're carrying heavy things or using this bag outdoors. All the abrasive stuff like pavement would typically wear down the bottom of the bag. I've had lots of backpack go to heaven because of this reason. Now, this has almost no wear on the bottom, which really surprised me, especially considering that I do use this outdoors a lot of the time, and I'm generally pretty rough with my gear and this bag even. So that's actually a really nice thing, is that the bottom of the bag is pretty much unscathed. Now, the mag latch mechanism on the front here still is working pretty much the same way as it did on day one, which is nice. The magnets haven't gotten weaker, and there is a bit of an elastic in here that still is working properly after 5 years, which is nice because anything elastic will wear out over time. But so I'm happy to report that 5 years later, we're not seeing any issues with the latch at all. Now, moving on to the inside of the bag, it's still pretty much like new. I've, carried all kinds of stuff in here. I've carried food in here, and I've had a couple of spills in here, but it's held up really well. Now, these dividers here, they do wear out a little bit over time. They start to fray at the edges, but it's really not a big deal. It's certainly nothing that is cause for concern in terms of the durability of the bag, but overall the interior has been quite nice. And it's relatively easy to clean. A couple of threads are coming loose in here, but that's, again, the integrity of the bag is just fine. And this is all stuff that is to be expected after 5 years of daily driving. So would I still recommend this bag 5 years later? Yeah, I think I definitely would. It's held up really well. I think it's worth its price tag. Which is good because when you're spending this amount of money on just, a bag, you definitely want it to last a long time. And so far, this bag seems to be doing that. Now, in terms of the annoyances that I touched on earlier, One of the big ones is that this bag falls over when it's loaded with stuff a lot of the time, and that is still very much true 5 years later. There's obviously no reason why that should change, but it didn't. And then the other annoyance that I found on this bag is that these adjustable straps on here, they don't actually lock in place. As you can see here, even when you have this lock latch in the down position, which is supposedly the lock, you can still very easily slide this down. And so oftentimes the adjustment on the strap will just be all the way at the bottom like this because it just slips down over time. Now, when you're wearing it, it's really easy to readjust. You just give it a quick tug, but it does make you wonder why they have this quote-unquote locking mechanism in here if it doesn't actually lock the strap. So that would have been nice. Now, if you're pulling here on this portion, it's not gonna slide down. However, as you move this, very easily slides up and down. So that would be one thing that I would like to see improved on this particular bag. So that's about it. That's 5 years with the Peak Design Everyday Messenger 15-inch. I'm gonna give it a spin soon with one of the new 16-inch MacBooks where I suspect that this zipper may finally give out, but we will try to find out, and we will probably find out the hard way. Hopefully not, but we shall see. But overall, yeah, I highly recommend this bag, and I can only assume that the version 2 is even better. Now, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to try it because why would I? This has held up really well. But if you are in the market for a bag like this, I can definitely recommend this. And I will place some links below to purchase this bag directly from Peak Design if you want to support them, but also from Amazon if that's your preferred venue for shopping. So thank you very much for watching this video. I would appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and consider subscribing because there is more content to come. That's all photo, video, mirrorless related. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.